all right, let's
Time to
throw some dirt on that. So I got a place for that dirt.
Let's do it. Hey, Podcast America, welcome to episode, I think it's what did I just say, 94?
96.
Yep.
916.
One of those.
Yeah.
Of the Enlightened Neanderthals podcast, brought to you by my company, Training Northwest. What do we got going on out there? The rifleman camps are sold out.
That's pretty incredible.
The beta program I'm running, where I spend one evening every month with all the rifleman camp registration guys.
Do you think it's sold out because of Jordan's food or because you get a chance to shoot with Mike Kozak? What do you think really tipped it over the edge? Yeah.
That's a good point.
It's a combination.
Yeah, it's a package deal.
And the camaraderie. And the camaraderie.
Yeah. All right, continue.
So doing a little beta program this year where once a month, anybody who's registered for the camp comes out and we do some sort of kind of physical event and shoot 22 rifles to practice fundamentals, and then have a fireside, like light the campfire, have a hangout.
Yeah.
And this year it's free. Next year it won't be, but it's proving itself. The rifleman camp is developing into a solid product, which makes me really happy because it's something I created out of just my own fucking ideas.
Yeah. Thin air.
Yeah, exactly.
Next year, I'll be launching Rifle Boy Camp. If you're interested, email me.
And rifle them.
Rifle them camp.
So stupid.
Oh, shit. All right. Well, Mike, what did we talk about the first 20 minutes? I feel like we started on.
We talked about your new Kestrel or whatever you get.
That's right. Yeah, the rangefinder.
Yeah, you got an MRI machine.
MRI.
Yeah, you slap on
like
top
a
of your
microwave,
fucking...
a science oven. The Vortex impact thing that you glue or bolt onto the top of your scope. You glue her on there.
Yeah.
That thing was awesome. So tune in to hear a little bit more about that. Training Northwest is a Vortex dealer. If you guys are local here in Snohomish County, Washington, you should definitely be getting your optics from me, because then you can come zero it on my range.
Huh? And the rest of the episode, where are we going into that?
Mike went deep on his philosophies of depression.
Economic depression, not physical or emotional. We can get into that in a later episode.
Depression.
Do you want?
Though it does get sad.
That's a perfect way to end it. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Enjoy the show.
Later. Light phase.
I just came from there. Milwaukee. Milwaukee.
Yeah. Did you take a tour?
No. But we had an incredible day shooting big guns on Vortex. Is long distance range.
How many ranges did they have? Do you know?
There was an indoor 100-yard that we zeroed these impact rangefinder ballistic computer things on, and then we went outdoors to their distance range. And I think there was a shorter, like a 25-yard indoor range next to where we were on the longer indoor range.
Oh, wow.
And what's the difference between your Kestrel and having this thing on there?
Now I don't really need the Kestrel. It's all right there. The Kestrel was...
old technology.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know. What this thing does is it's all in one unit. It just sits right on top of your scope, and it definitely makes your rifle heavier. That's one downside to it. But you aim your scope at the target, hit the laser button, it ranges your target, spits out your windage and elevation corrections, which you can either dial in or hold on your reticle, and then send the shot. And we were getting reliable first and second round hits from 300 yards all the way out to 1,000.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah.
Huh. And what is this piece of equipment?
I
This wizardry
should say
cost?
reliable. It was, it's a sample size of one afternoon. But in that afternoon, we were reliably hitting first and second round all the way out.
That's still pretty good to be shooting at 700-800.
Bringing steel.
Yeah.
Yep.
How big? How big was the steel? What kind of group are we talking here?
Like steel silhouettes, and actually, I think some of them were smaller because there were diamonds and circles and whatnot. Different shapes. But honestly, at those distances, I don't fucking know. It's too hard to guess. Was it 36 inches or was it 42 or?
Yeah.
What does a piece of this wizardry cost?
Probably a lot.
Like
I wouldn't
above it?
know.
Yeah.
I'd have to look online.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me, bud.
Yeah, you can order one through Training Northwest, and we'll get it ordered up for you, and I'll find
you
out.
You absolutely can. I will get you a price.
Let me tell you. Yeah, first and second shots reliably.
Shit, dude.
So
Ring steel.
it was really fun to go see the factory and see the headquarters. And
How big of a factory is it? Like they make all their scope.
No, it's most. I think it's their
Corporate?
it's their Razor and the HD ones that they make.
So the
in-house.
high end stuff.
Yeah, so the glass. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
the
and
glass
then
comes from Japan, and then it's assembled at the factory in Wisconsin.
Fucking A. Was it a pretty big facility, or were you like, eh?
It's.
I mean, to have a
to
100
us, where
yard.
we're used to working in like Boeing.
Yeah.
It's like I think it was 750,000 square feet, which is roughly the
not that
size of
size.
the hospital you and I are working on right now. By the time it's finished, interior space. So that's a good sized building. Like to me, it's a big fucking operation.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's cool. And cool people.
Everybody's like, it was also a. It's like, obviously this is under good guidance and leadership because everybody's happy and the facility is immaculately clean. You could eat off the factory floor.
Yeah.
Like it was a very impressive tour.
Yeah. Did you text Chris Cantrell and be like, hey, man, Vortex is awesome, actually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can shove it.
I think he even said that he likes the product. He just he understands it's that
Yeah.
sales rep that he had a
Yeah.
disagreement with. So I can't answer for that though.
Yeah.
That's cool, though.
It was a lot of fun, and that impact rangefinder it's legit.
Are you gonna keep it on your rifle then?
Yes. Oh hell yes. And I'm it can store the ballistic profiles of like 10 different rifles in it. So I'm also going
so
to
you
put
can
it on
switch
the
it
rail
on
on
ours?
my I'm going to put it on my M4.
Oh.
And it'll
Hold on, I got a shot, bro. Let me see that thing.
yeah. No, it'll be fun to go test in the clearing and see how quick if it puts my just my standard M4 on target really quickly at longer ranges.
Were you guys having any kind of crosswinds at all out there?
Coming out
Because it looked like it was
a pretty calm day.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we had a lot of rain and precipitation later in the afternoon. So, but when we started, there was like a moderate wind coming out at like 10 o'clock, and then I don't know that it had that much effect. So it wasn't like a high wind day where we're testing our skill at calling wind.
And you're not shooting over canyons and ridge top to ridge top. You're kind of by wheat fields, it looks like. Almost.
Was it a pretty big range out there, or what was the?
No,
you're just
it
like,
was
"Oh,
big
shit."
enough for probably 6 shooters at one time.
No, but I mean, like just wide open. Like, what's the landscape like out there?
It was really flat in Milwaukee, but as we got further west toward Barneville, it was like low rolling hills and like tree stands and fields and whatnot. It was actually really beautiful country.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never been there.
Yeah,
The Milwaukee or the Midwest areas. Like all those flyover states, I keep them that.
I didn't feel like we missed much driving through Milwaukee, but the area where we stayed was pretty awesome.
Pretty nice.
Yeah.
They set you up in a hotel, or does Vortex have their own amenities?
No, we just stayed at a hotel.
You didn't sleep in the owner's bed. Kick him out into his guest room.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Fuck, no one's ever flown me out anywhere and put me out.
Met Chad and Steve, who are Greg's deer hunting buddies, who he flies out there to go hunting
right
with. So those guys came and hung out, and that was fun.
Yeah.
So it was a God. I don't even think we were there 72 hours, but it was a fast turn and burn. But Friday on the long range was really fun.
That's cool.
I bet.
Yeah.
That sucks though, because you said he sent that picture, of shooting that AR. And it's like, fuck, man. I'm so bummed that we can't buy them in the state. And it's like not only to have a 5.56, but to get those 6.5 Creedmoors or AR-10, to modify it out.
Looking back on, I built like the last gun I built before the ban was an AR-10. I was like, I have to get one in there, right? I wish I would have gone 6.5 Creedmoor, not 308, but I went 308 just because I was like, you gotta have it, right? And if I could do it again, I'm building another one, and I'm building a tack driver 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah.
When I do it again.
And that's what that one was that I was shooting there. It was there AR-10 and 6.5 Creedmoor.
a tack
Oh
driver.
my god, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Do you think we'll ever be able to get ARs again in this state, or you think we're forever done?
I don't know.
I feel like the continuance of the republic is in question. Who the fuck knows? You know what I mean?
If everything breaks down, who's going to stop you from building?
Yeah,
Kind of
exactly.
thing. Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, didn't they just find a couple more gun laws unconstitutional? Supreme Court rule. I thought there was just another thing.
I can't keep up with it all because it's like, oh fuck, there's a new Congress in session, and it's like, here come all these crazy fucking initiatives, and everybody's getting all fired up, and I don't think it really matters. Like, they don't listen to us anyway. Like, in this state, it's coming one way or another.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see if we couldn't get that Washington gun lawyer on here.
Who?
The Washington gun lawyer who goes over all this stuff, and he's out of Woodinville.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does a lot of stuff out of
He does
security.
like YouTube like review, like as all these initiatives are being introduced and pushed through the House and the Senate, he sort of reviews them and their legality and what they will mean for gun owners in the state.
Did you see that thing like a month or maybe 2 months ago about that federal judge that was a gun enthusiast? He was making commentary about California's decision on accessories for semi-auto handguns, and that having an extended mag now, like California rule that having an extended mag isn't what the weapon was originally sold as. Like, it's an enhancement. So because it's an enhancement, it doesn't facilitate the basic necessity of operation. And then there's this California judge who's just this gun nut, and he's like, oh, you don't think that helps necessitate how the gun's supposed to work? Having extra ammo in there to push the spring harder to feed the gun, so now it actually works better having aftermarket parts. There was a judge that just ripped into these kind of libtard gun people.
But did it change anything? Because I feel like the laws just march forward one way or another.
It did change something, because you ever see, I mean, even the Kyle Rittenhouse thing, like, people don't like, oh, he brought 18 inches and longer is technically considered a long gun. And so an 18-year-old can possess a long gun, right? And so that's common knowledge in that state. But while that Kyle Rittenhouse thing was going on, they're like, oh, he has an AR. It's an assault rifle. It's not a long gun. And like, people bickering back and forth about terminology that doesn't really matter or apply to things. It's kind of, things I've seen on movies, an AR, assault rifle, but it doesn't stand for those. So to have someone in like the law that actually knows a little bit about the guns, it was kind of nice to see someone stand behind like a good judgment, but also because they have wisdom of that subject. Yeah.
I mean, I remember when they tried to put in Washington, when they first started doing all these laws, the first thing they went after, they tried doing a law change right out the gate with assault rifles and being like, oh, AR. And then they were like, well, then they found out real quickly that like AR doesn't stand for assault rifle, and they had to go back through.
Yeah.
And then they had to change terminology, legality, and
It's
like
a tack rifle.
And then turn around and like change the the verbiage, right? And then once they legalized that, then they were able to attack what it was. So they had to like attack the definition first. And I remember like being all fucking pissed off about it and sending texts to buddies, and they were like, they're just changing the name of it, like, don't worry about it. It's like, that's exactly what they're trying to, like, they have to put it all into a category.
Yeah.
And now once they've categorized it, now they can say, this is what we're talking about, and this is banned.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself. And so,
well, I mean, just something as simple as changing the name can have amazing repercussions. I mean, look at this whole gender thing.
Gulf of America.
Yeah.
You can't drill in the Gulf of Mexico, but you can drill in the Gulf of America.
Yeah.
That's
or
no
even
shit. That's where they're going to start drilling oil. I swear to God.
Or even the gender things. You know, it's like, this is them. And it's like something that we've all had an established knowledge of, like, this boy, this is girl, or even corrective speech, pluralities, they, them, you know? And when you start to just slightly tweak and change the speech, redefining what definitions are is the first way to like
Re-educate.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Can't re-educate me.
I'm an educator.
Joke's on you.
You got fucking sissy lalas.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah. Good luck.
Can't get in Jordan's head.
Steel trap.
I have Fort Knox up here.
Nothing's going in or out. Lock it down like a prison.
Yeah, dude. Best defense.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So you had a good weekend.
Yeah.
I looked at that house, or not house, but land.
Yeah.
Didn't turn out to be anything worth having. Still gonna look though. I think what I'm gonna do is sell my place and then try and buy a property.
Okay.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
And then live in a trailer or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah.
What was that movie? Fuck.
Forrest Gump.
No, where he was a cop in L.A. and he
Apocalypse.
lived in that.
Colors?
No, he lived in that. It was supposed to be
Naked Gun.
No, it was a movie with Mel
Danny
Gibson
Glover.
and yeah,
Lethal Weapon.
right. But then they did
Yeah,
that
he lives
spoof.
in that single wide by the
But then they
by
did
the
that
ocean.
spoof movie with Emilio Estevez, and he lives on a trailer on the beach, and he walks in, and it's like a marble palace.
Oh, yeah.
Like he hops in a single wide, but then the interior view is like a room that keeps going forever with marble pillars. Those are the best movies.
That's a Cat's trailer.
Dude, speaking of Naked Gun, did you see they're redoing it with Liam Neeson?
What?
Yeah.
No.
Naked Gun?
They're redoing the Naked Guns, and Liam Neeson plays the son of, what's his name? Clark?
Frank Drebin.
Frank Drebin, yeah. He's Drebin Jr.
Really?
Oh, shit.
I'm excited for that.
You know what? I'm excited. The Accountant.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the second one's coming out. Or it came out.
With Clive, is that not Clive?
Ben-
Gerard?
No, Ben Affleck.
Oh.
Remember how he played an autistic guy who was good at like numbers? And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
But he was also like an assassin.
How you like them apples?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's coming out. I want to see it.
Was the first one good?
I like the first one, yeah.
It's like a,
Numbers and guns.
it's an autistic assassin. So he said.
He
Can't make it up.
Turns the lights on and off like 3 times before he comes in the room to murder
he's
you.
like, die.
Hang on, that's real?
Oh yeah, yeah, dude. And it shows him when he's a kid, and he's losing his fucking mind as a kid, trying to like then his dad's like holding him down and like turning the lights on and off and like having him play loud music and shit, and he's just and he can't stand it. He's like, "You're gonna get over this."
Jesus.
And his mom leaves him. Mom walks out, and his
Jesus.
brother and him are like, you know, they both turn out to be like cold-blooded killers. But
You know, as times change and they're like, autism's more acceptable. It's like, will we get to a day where there's autistic James Bond, you know? And they're like, oh, he's like, give me a martini. And they're like, shaken or stirred. He's like, don't shake. Don't shake it. Don't shake it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But that's going to be a weak superhero, dude. As an incel, James Bond always sleeps with the chick, dude. He's not getting laid.
dude, could you imagine?
Yeah, I
That would be the greatest.
Socially awkward James Bond.
Can we go back to your rooms, James? Now I'm going to go home and watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Half a Rain Man.
Bye, pussy galore.
Oh, fuck.
Lord.
Yeah.
Imagine pitching these. I would have loved to have been there for the pitch.
I
Listen,
guarantee you
I
this
got a
has been
script. You're going to
pitched.
want to hear this.
I guarantee you this has been pitched.
He's an assassin, but there's a twist.
He likes to count. He loves numbers.
He's a great driver. Fantastic driver.
Hates elastic socks.
Holy shit. Some of those guys do have fucking like superhero like minds.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's some
fucking
recent
weather
study
was.
that's been all over the internet and all over social media about how non-communicative autistic people have what seem like ESP, like they can
Telekinesis?
telepathically communicate, and they have evidence to show for it, which is wild.
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a paraeducator, I worked with a bunch of kids like that.
Yeah.
And some of them could do some wild shit.
Yeah.
Upload stuff into your mind.
Oh man. Well, I'll tell you, one kid could change he'd change the computers to Japanese.
Oh right.
Nobody else knew how to change them back, so
We had to sell them every year.
Steven, damn it. Again.
Konnichiwa.
Oh, yeah, there was always some weird shit going on with those kids. I mean, one of them could spell anything.
Yeah.
Not that I could spell check him, but, you know.
Take your word.
He'd knock it out of the park. You'd ask him anything, and he'd be able to knock it out of the world.
Could you use that in a sentence, Billy? Could you name the origin of that word?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
It is weird to be able to do stuff like that, but then someone's like, tie your shoe, and you're like, fuck. You know? It's so bizarre to me that you can be so high functioning in certain ways and then just completely drop the ball on baseline human necessity.
Yeah,
Or
Lord,
even
the
just-
Lord giveth, the Lord taketh.
Or even just communication, you know? But maybe that's what it is to be so hypersensitive to everything else around you. You know, that the things that you enjoy, you just dive deeper into, and then the things that annoy you just push away. I mean, you become more and more unique or eclectic or odd.
That's like one of the, kind of like when you close your eyes, all the other sentences get better.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
Like you lose a sense, the other ones get better.
Yeah.
Close your eyes. Close your eyes.
Hang on, see if you can feel this coming.
Yeah. Can you smell this?
Does this taste salty?
Yeah. See how salty it is?
It is weird though, because like I've never heard of a blind person being able to like locate something like a bat. You know what I mean? Like
You haven't seen that?
You haven't seen, dude. There's people who mountain bike like that.
Yeah.
What?
Yes,
Blind mountain bikers?
yes, and they fucking echolocate.
They
like
will
bats.
be missed.
Party of 4 dies in Moab.
Yeah. Please tell me they're each on their own bike, not one of those 4-seater like
Hey, the blind leading the blind.
bunch
out
of
there.
clicks going down the hill.
Yeah, they're
That's bad.
tree.
That sounds hard. Holy shit. No, is that really a thing?
Yes,
You're a
I
kid.
don't. Not like a widespread thing, but there are people who.
Well, I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah.
That's a special talent.
Yeah, humans can echolocate, which is fucking wild.
I've heard of people being able to kind of do it that are blind, but not like proficient. Like, what's that superhero? Daredevil?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not like him.
Super Dave.
Super Dave.
No, Super Dave Osborne was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I watched a thing, and it was a kid walking through, and he was clicking. It was like, and yeah, he was able to.
Was he blind or was it a tribe in Africa?
Well, he was a black kid, so. But yeah, he was able to kind of, and I think they took him in a room, had him do that, and then they rearranged the furniture.
Oh, really? How'd he do?
I think he did good.
Really?
Yeah.
God, that'd be a weird trait.
Dude, could you imagine?
I mean, you're a human bat at that time.
Oh yeah, the real Batman.
Yeah, the realist.
Well,
That's weird.
good pod. Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Echolocation.
Episode 9. Did you come in here prepared, Michael?
Mike's been going down a couple rabbit holes lately. Mainly it's the Jews, the state of Israel, and
Its influence on our government.
a little
One of
bit.
the trailers near that property had a Israel flag next to the American flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
It happens quite a bit. I've been listening to, it's a 24-hour part series, Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem. And it's kind of about like from the late 1800s to currently and situation of there. And then,
And what was the...
what's the consensus?
Yeah, why'd they do
I'm only on hour 10 of 22 or 24.
Can we just agree it was their fault?
Shots fired.
Sorry,
no,
YouTube.
And we're deleted.
I mean, it's you can blame a lot to the fall of the Ottoman Empire. It seems like to the dissolving of the Middle East. And it seems like this throughout history. Like under the Roman Empire, there were so many countries under the blanket of Rome's rule. And yes, it was bloody and hard for Rome to take it over, and you had loss. But then you're kind of united under this huge umbrella. When Rome fell and cities or states started to go into their own areas and kind of become like isolationists, or I'm this tribe and I'm that tribe, you kind of see more infighting. And that's kind of a big thing that you see in the Middle East with the fall of the Ottoman Empire and Turkey not becoming the hub. And you see at that same time in Europe, I mean, you see all these different thought experiments from having communism to Bolsheviks to
So when Rome goes through and starts taking over, and basically saying join or we'll just flatten you and salt the earth that you were once living on, when people joined up, they still had it in their minds that they were...
I'm still from this area, this land, but
I'm Roman.
Now we're under the Roman umbrella.
But we're still...
Yeah, whatever this person is.
So when Rome fell, were they like, oh, we are still this and we're rising again?
We're back to our originals, but we don't have this umbrella of trade, diplomacy, monetary exchange, commonalities, all these things. And so when you don't have like groups that can trade, one group that can trade a far distance with another group easily, like under the umbrella of Rome, well, now we have all these different standards of trading. You use different money. We don't use the Roman currency. You use this. Maybe we think what we have is worth more than what you have. And so you get to have a lot more problems. And so I've been going down this Israel thing, but then also this Great Depression rabbit hole, just because of all the events that have been unfolding lately, especially with tariffs, which they tried doing during the Great Depression.
Okay.
Which is something that, and it didn't seem to work so well.
Well,
but there's other examples of tariffs throughout history that have worked.
Well, during the Great Depression, we were still in we were in the Industrial Revolution, right? Like we were
way post.
Past?
Way past. Like the Industrial Revolution of steam-powered engines, combustions,
like
late
1890?
1700s to early 1800s into the middle 1800s. When you really have isolated combustion engine is the late 1800s into the early 1800s when the Model T really started
into the early 1900s.
Or 1900s, excuse me.
Yeah, and that's when the US was really coming on with like manufacturing and all that.
Manufacturing, but if you look at
that was an American thing, right? The combustion engine was America, not
part of it was invented in Europe, and then part of it was invented in the United States. And that's a weird thing about tech is a lot of things are. I think we kind of did this on some of what was that woo-woo stupid book?
The Divine
Matrix.
Matrix.
Divine Matrix. Yeah. But you know,
two things happening at the same time in different places.
Exactly. Yeah. That same thing kind of happened with combustion engine. But where I've been going with the Great Depression is no one really knows why it happened. Like there's commonalities of overlaying events. One was the stock market 2 was consumer.
What event is blamed for? Was it like Black Friday when the stock market just collapsed?
So there's all these even now, how many, it's almost 100 years later and there's no definitive type thing, but there's a lot.
What's funny is as I do learn the swing trading, the values of each individual stock, I'm just trusting that whatever this screen tells me is the actual value.
Yeah.
Someone can, for all I know, somebody could just crank it down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a fake system played with fake money.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at where the Great Depression started in 29 and lasted till 39, and some of the things that got us into it, it seems like, is World War I. Right? Europe had to borrow so much money to fight World War I, and especially France and Germany in the end. And at the Treaty of Versailles, Germany had to pay back reparations to Britain and to France for all the damage they had caused. Well, the United States is who lent all that money out, right? And so as they lent all that money out, and then they were not able to... They lent all the money out, but then the countries weren't paying the money back as well as they should have been, right? So you start to have defaults on your payback programs. And so that's just one example of one of the things that led up to the Great Depression. So it's like you have all this excess of money going. 2, you have the stock market, which was out of control. The United States, when we did our What is Money podcast, we talked about our different ideas of economic freedom and how you continue to grow your money. I'm sorry, I'm getting completely lost. I'm like, smile, don't blink, look at the camera. Yeah. Treaty of Versailles, economic policy.
Rothschild's banking.
The Jews did it.
Taking advantage of war. World War I.
World War
leads
I.
to
Leads
stock
to world.
market crash.
Stop. Oh, yes.
Leads to World War II.
Okay, so then, we're lending out tons of money for post-World War I, right? And then we get the Roaring 20s. And America's in this production hype. Like, everything's great. We're back to our original standard of economics, classical economics, make everything in country and buy as little from other people.
Yeah, manufacturing based.
Roaring 20s was really taken off. And as the Roaring 20s started to happen, it seemed like people started to acquire goods, and then everyone kind of got enough. We had enough Model T sold. We had enough of this. And all of a sudden, everyone was buying. Oh, I got all my stuff. And buying started to dip off. So as buying started to dip off, consumer demand started to fall. So then you have consumer demand starting to fall. At the same time, because everyone's buying so much, the stock market.
Do you know this for a fact that people just sort of tapered off their buying, or is this like it's shown.
Guess? No, it's shown. Okay. It's shown that buying starts to die, but it's because everyone starts to acquire some goods and. Hey, I got a Model T. I don't need one for another 20 years type of mentality. I got a new stoves were becoming a hit. The first washers that were electric were being invented and given to the public.
Yeah, GE is taking off.
Yeah, at the very beginnings, And so you have this happen. So people start to taper off. At this exact same time, American industry is doing so well and that the stock market's really taking off. So now banks are telling people, hey, the economy's doing so well, start taking fucking loans and buy stocks with loan money. Instead of using actual physical capital or asset that you have, let's invest in the stock with fake money. We'll give you promissory notes. Jesus. So as this happens, you're hyperinflating the market. Then once they hyperinflate the market, all these things started to hit at once. So then you have Federal Reserve starting to come in and take control. This is Keynesian, right? When we hit a high or a low of economic dips, the government will come in and help artificially stimulate, right? When we first had the Great Depression, we had a not interventionist, isolationist mentality of the United States. We were post World War I, and we didn't want to get involved with everyone else, right? So we kind of had this idea of stick to ourselves. We did that for a while under Hoover. Yes, Hoovervilles. Yes, under President Hoover, but the stock market kept getting worse. So then when FDR got into office, he started to instill like government programs to help inflate the market. Now, it was kind of wise back in the day of some of these programs to inflate the market, because it wasn't like, let's just throw money at the problem and that'll solve it. You had the Job Corps. And I think this is a very interesting idea as to, instead of like, social benefits and welfare are an interesting idea, because if someone doesn't have a lucrative business or they can't make money, they're starving. So what can I do? Well, I could just give them food, but that doesn't really help.
Teach a man to fish.
Exactly. So that's where the Job Corps starts to come in. And it's like, well, instead of just giving handouts, let's provide jobs that provide money to people, right? So you start to have more government intervention in it, and then the Federal Reserve really tries to step in. The last part that kind of seems to be a leading factor of the Great Depression was the gold standard. And as the gold standard changed during the during the Great Depression, the United States started printing more money. And as they started to print more money, they did that, and it changed the value of what gold was held at. Now, because we didn't have as good of communication that we do now than we did then, that would make for discrepancies in raising the interest rates, because no one could have an established, oh, gold sits here, so everyone else in the country is going to have it sit there too. Everyone would have their own kind of where the gold standard set. So you have a volatile market that's fluctuating up and down. So while things are unpredictable, not having a steady base that's constantly throwing the market into more volatility help push us into that direction. Now, all of this being said, this is all, no one can really, these are like the four, it seems like, areas that generally point to what caused or may have led to the Great Depression, but no one could, it's not like one single thing happened. And it was a lot of like, not in my opinion, it was a lot of confidence issues which really led to the continuation of the Great Depression. Right? It was confidence in the banks, right? We started having problems with cash flow. Like, we're lending so much money to Europe for recovery from World War I. They weren't paying back, right? So it's like, God, there's so much money going out. We have the Dust Bowl hit. A couple farms don't do well. Well, those farmers want to pull their money out. Well, so much money's wrapped up in loaning out money to Europe, loaning out money to people to play in the stock market. A couple banks start to fail. We weren't FDIC insured back then. Well, now you set up a domino effect. And when one starts to fall, the others start to fall. And this created a rolling cascade of doubt. It created a doubt in the banking system. It created doubt in the independent financial system, of consumer reliability, and of government, and what the role is supposed to be in these situations. Now, I bring all this up because it just seems like random blathering, which I do all the time. But I feel like we're in a weird, I've kind of gotten on this little
parallel
kick on it. Yeah, because of everything that's going on. And like I said earlier, the same things that were used during the first Great Depression were things such as tariffs to build stimulus. Didn't seem to work out so well. But in the end, eventually, things did go up. You see a lot more of classical economics thought process. Like, let me not, as you're in the thick of it, let me not like spend money from other areas. Let me build wealth in my area. And that's kind of what the United States is saying right now. From the 70s, we've taken every job and we've pushed them all the way out for the cheapest labor. We don't care about work standards or child labor laws or slave practice. We
or healthcare. Everything has
Yeah.
become a for-profit, maximum efficiency, minimum energy output.
Yeah. And so it seemed in my head, I was kind of texting with you guys, and I was like, the things that caused the Great Depression seem so far less in stature or impact back then compared to what we've done in the past 20 to 30 years. Like, we've had the housing bubbles, we had COVID, we have these printings of money, we have all these endless wars, all these propping ups of other countries, and we're all backing it with our currency and our promise, our fiat, our that believe in this system will work. And to me, it's just, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it does have a lot of parallels. And thinking about this, I just see so many commonalities for like overlay or panic or just common things we've done in the past that maybe we're doing again. Or even in saying that, it's like I say that, but I think about when the Great Depression happened and so many more people were rural and farmers.
Feminine.
Yeah.
Ism.
Ism. Yeah. But during that time, so say you have a Great Depression where food isn't there. Most people still have the ability to have a goat, maybe a cow, some chickens, a garden. People today have no other means of access of food besides Chipotle and Subway. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think about all these current economic and political factors that affect it, but in the end, what really matters is the people around you and the stories and your neighbor and how they get through that situation. And it just makes me wonder, if we were to have a huge Great Depression, it would not like be of the past where people are eating wallpaper in the paste that holds it on there for any form of nutrients because they're hardened people. Today's people are soft. Yeah. And to eat wallpaper, I don't want to eat wallpaper.
Hang on, whose house has wallpaper in it?
Well, someone's.
So you guys are going to be hungry.
Yeah. Don't worry, all that asbestos in the wall.
Wallpaper. Just in case. Yeah. People thought I was crazy for doing it.
But I don't know. I've just been going down this weird, like, Great Depression rabbit hole.
What do you think today's Great Depression would look like then? Like, what do you think that would turn into?
I think a lot more fighting. Like, you would see bread lines and soup lines and food lines back in the day. I think maybe America.
Do you think you'd see something like little Chaz formations pop up here and there around resources like a soup kitchen?
Yeah.
Because that is kind of how the third world warlord
look at the UN trucks
system begins. Yeah, exactly.
Pull up with rice.
Whoever can control the UN shipments of food becomes the dominant warlord because they have the necessary resource.
And at least back then, everyone was on the same page. When FDR was president, he would get on the radio almost every night and he would do fireside chats, is what they're called. Kind of close to our first podcast idea name. But it was the idea that you sat with your family in their living room next to the fireplace on the couch and you listened to FDR talk. And he filled in the nation. And during a time of such divisiveness and turmoil and economic strife, to have the actual president there filling in the American citizen seems so contradictory to kind of what we really have today. It seems like maybe you get, let me spin you a tale.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, here, let me tell you some lies.
I'd be interested in looking up to see if any of those are recorded.
They all should be on the archives.
Have you listened
Smithsonian? To them? Some of them I've heard because he did them all the way from then during World War II.
Yeah.
But FDR was a great man. Also did a lot of coke when he was
a young
president. No, because
it would be interesting to see somebody fact check those fireside talks and see if he followed through.
Probably not.
In the weeks and months later, or if he was every bit the liar that modern politicians are.
I mean, you have to be a little bit of a liar, I'm sure, to be any form of politician. Like, nothing in Washington seems to happen by being truthful and honest. You have to play the game of politics.
Do you?
Otherwise, other politicians will take advantage of you.
Well, why are they there then? Why are we paying them to be there?
I don't know. That's where,
Maybe that's what we should be talking about. Why the fuck are we paying these people to be there? Why are we supporting this?
That's true. But, I am a little bit of a libertarian, and I think maximum government overreach does more harm than good. But like during the beginnings of the Great Depression, like I said, we were isolationist in that mentality post World War II. We didn't want big government intervening in the Great Depression, and they didn't for the first couple years under Hoover, and it did seem to technically get worse. I mean, when FDR did take over, that's when you did see the Job Corps start, and the Job Corps was government provided work, but it did provide infrastructure. It built the dams, it built a lot of libraries, it built a lot of the road system, it built a lot of the power infrastructure.
A lot of guys died during that Hoover Dam, didn't they?
Yeah. They're still buried in the concrete.
Yeah. Still curing.
I don't know though. I don't know if it's good to look at this stuff and compare it. I don't know.
I think it is. I mean, but I'm curious as to what today's would we get back to that doomsday scenario of hey, you know what? Times are tough, and all of a sudden you start seeing, like you said, the warlords or the little, tribes, chazzes pop up,
He who controls the resources will control the population.
Mm-hmm. And it's got to be easier to control resources when everyone, like I said, buys from Chipotle or Subway or Safeway. When you have a well and you have a little farm and some chickens, it's you can probably get by a little better.
It's a little piece of independence.
But when most of people live in cities, that means everyone's reliant on the system continuing on, if not expanding beyond
cities,
what the system
right?
on.
It's not just cities now. It's unless you live on a farm.
Very few people are living on a true farm.
Yeah, unless you can have, eggs.
Yeah.
Vegetables.
Even,
milk or meat.
Don't talk to Sean Baker about that.
Get that gay carrot out of my face.
Then you're going to need a lot of cattle to live I would love to live like him independently, but I would need a lot of cattle.
Yeah.
A cow a day for that, man.
Yeah, give me that goat.
That's right.
How quick Sean Baker would start eating dogs and cats.
They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Sean's my best friend.
Slow cooked cat.
Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah,
Does he still roll at the gym? I haven't seen him.
I haven't seen him in forever, but
we'll still claim him.
Yeah. I really back to the beginnings of this podcast. I just love the doomsday kind of prepper mindset of what does that mean for you? What does that mean for future? And what can you do now to say everything does go to shit? We don't have any money. Are there things that you could do to just get by and live? And that would be vegetable garden. Yeah. That would be chickens. That would be goat.
But goats, then times like that make me wonder,
fishing nets.
What do people do though? So say you have a house or something and you have a mortgage. Well, part of the Great Depression is as things continued to compound, it only made things worse. So jobs kept getting harder and harder and harder to come by. So people were not able to pay any of their bills. So do banks just come and repossess or take over your house? But then you have half the country, global GDP, unemployment went to, I think, 25%, which is out of control. So how does the government or the banks come and take?
So you're telling me 75% of the people worked their way through the fucking Great Depression?
Yeah.
So 75% of the people were making money.
But 1 out of every 4 is kind of tough, though. I mean, that's a huge.
What do you mean?
1 out of every 4 people not being employed is tough. So
that is probably the beginning.
Maybe that's why there's only 3 of us.
That is probably yeah.
You know what? Fuck them.
That's probably why the federal government now in 2025 is the largest employer in the nation, and why our money is so heavily leveraged.
Well,
our
and
currency. It probably started right there, where they started hiring people for false positions that were not necessary, that didn't provide anything, and they paid for it with fake money printed out of nothing. So it was nothing for nothing, and yet the taxpayers still carry the burden of it.
Well, exactly. Look at why was the Federal Reserve created? Like the Federal Reserve was
to hide how it all works from us is the only thing I can assume.
That yes, I mean that's probably the most accurate. But the idea was
you have a way of cutting right to the core.
Dude, you got to meet his mom. I'm telling you, dude. But the Federal Reserve was created to be like this thing that smooths out. Like business has highs and lows, and this is kind of the Keynesian idea, right? But businesses have highs and lows, and you're going to have instability and volatility during those in-between times. The idea of the Federal Reserve was to smooth over the highs and lows to make everything a more consistent, even growth. But the Federal Reserve completely...
I think the purpose of the Federal Reserve was to swindle people through created inflation so that you can never actually save enough money to get ahead.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. To make sure that generation after generation was stuck in the grind.
But
it's a system of debt slavery. We've talked about this before, where you're always sort of chasing that next carrot, right? So you've got a rent to pay, or a home or a mortgage to pay, or car, you know what I mean? Car payment, blah, blah, blah. People are encouraged from day one to be underwater. And so you are forever on the hamster wheel chasing that carrot. Yeah. And that is the system we live in.
We do, but that system is supposed to have protocols for when there's...
And I think the Federal Reserve was created to perpetuate that, because it can inflate and print money anytime it wants. Like, look at what's happened in the last 5 years.
But that inflation
so
and printing...
Anybody who thought they had saved up for a nice cushy retirement or an early retirement or to do something different with their lives in the space of like 3 years, now they can't because of the inflation.
Yeah. But that inflation is supposed to be like a rubber band. Sometimes it's supposed to get really tight and strong, and sometimes it's supposed to be loose and lax. The problem with it seems like that is that it constantly goes on an upward trajectory. And that's where you get like inflation and stuff. Or my grandmother used to tell me Coca-Cola is 5 cents a bottle. Well, over time, it's continued to grow to, I don't know, what's a bottle of Coke now? Like $4?
$4?
Yeah, something like that. But the idea with the Federal Reserve in those areas was to smooth things over when there's economic instability or chaos. It doesn't really seem like the Federal Reserve has worked in that way, in that it doesn't provide like a smoothening. It seems to like that rubber band. It kind of creates more of a rebound.
I think it's
and
literally
also Social
a method
Security
of stealing our labor and our attention.
Also, Social Security was created during that same time, which to me seems like a Ponzi scheme.
Well, when people are thinking like, I have to go eat this wallpaper.
Home Depot, here we come.
And you're telling me that
Israel did it.
You're gonna make it to where I won't have to ever again.
Yeah.
If I just give this certain amount of money to you you'll take care of me for the rest of my life. I have a retirement. People were retiring on Social Security.
Not anymore, though.
Fuck no, not anymore.
Well, and think about it.
It won't pay for your gas.
But think
to
about
get to your second job, to have health care after you retire.
Social Security was started what?
Fuck.
Yeah.
But it was started what? In the late 20s or early 30s, right? Is when Social Security started. So someone had to be the first beneficiary of Social Security, right? Because if the age is 55 or 60,
skimming off the back.
So those people never paid in. So everyone that is receiving Social Security is only receiving it because of the people in front of them. Mm-hmm. So when you start to go with economic or generational decline, like look at Japan in having youth and stuff.
Correct.
When you start to get in these lower numbers, now we start to freak out about Social Security too. So it's like, well, this system kind of seems built to fail unless the model continues to go up on a hockey stick trajectory. If you have any ups and downs, you're affecting Social Security instantly, because the people that receive it now are only because of the people that are paying it now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And that's why it's always so difficult to fund it.
So that seems like a Ponzi scheme.
Inflation fucks it.
Yeah. I don't know, dude.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But all this, I don't know. The wilder the world goes, it's like, I need to know more about this. And then I listen to stuff for hours and hours, and it's like, fuck, I hate my life. I don't get anything. I'm so confused.
I just want to go camping.
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Just
I'm
start
tired of thinking about all of it.
Start a fire, you know, with just nothing but a couple sticks, and if you can do that, I think you're going to be better off.
It is good for the soul. It's soul cleansing.
Just have that ability, you know. Just keep abilities, true, actual abilities, not beating fucking Halo on Legendary.
I mean, that's
you
fun.
know, it's tight. Good for
It is
you.
tight.
But
Good
go start a fire with some sticks. That's like,
That's more impressive.
well, those are just abilities, I think, that like truly
You'll
feel
be
good
happier about it
You'll be
5
happier
years
about,
later.
But also, like, at the end of the day, like, having the ability to do that, like, you're providing for yourself, and nobody's ever going to be able to take that away from you. Same with the ability to hunt, the ability to fish, like the ability to grow a garden and know how to use, you know, the earth to
It is nice, but
like, those are the things that, like,
economic freedom in today's society is freedom. Like, you want to be the pirate. You want to be Jack Sparrow, and whatever you want to do, you do.
Yes.
Well, you can do that by breaking the law, but eventually those...
Eventually, you might have to shoot it out with the
Yes.
British constable.
Right? So what really provides freedom is money.
Freedom is the ability to not want.
Right, Buddha?
That's truly, that's where
Yeah,
the
but
freedom
everyone
comes.
wants.
He's right.
But the more you want, the more you have, the more you want.
Right, but that-
you
and-
get a
but-
wife,
but-
and
but
it's like,
the-
I want to provide her with a house,
Well, it depends
and
on
children,
the
and
wife you
clothing,
want.
and money. Right?
But when it comes to, like, actual freedom, the only freedom you ever will have, I don't care if you're fucking Bill Gates, he'll never be free of anything.
Yeah.
Right? It's the ability to not want.
Yeah,
And
but
if there is nothing you can give me, then you can't control me.
that's easy to say as like the Zen Buddha sitting on the mountaintop.
Yeah, but if you're on a fucking mountaintop,
But like, as me, it's like, I like hunting. It's like, yeah, I got a good bow, but you know what? In 5 years, maybe 6 years, that bow's going to be kind of breaking down a
you know, it'd be
little,
sick,
and I'm
though,
going to want a new one.
if you knew how to fucking make one.
But then I still have the want of knowledge to learn to make a bow.
Well, make it, and then once you, once you
have it, can't be taken away.
Yeah,
Yeah, but making a bow isn't as good as a compound bow.
Who makes compound
it
bows?
depends. It depends.
Technology.
So
What does that
when are
want?
Mike Zedong bows coming out? Yeah.
Yeah. No time soon, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Dude, my
it is
bows would
better,
be sold
but,
on
like,
Temu.
In whose reference frame?
If you could spend the time to make the money to build, or if you could spend the time to either make money to buy a new bow or spend the time in the woods to learn what the animals are doing and use a fucking stick bow, guess what? I think you're gonna have a better time shooting
You'll
something
enjoy
with a
your
stick
life
bow.
more with your stick bow.
You're probably going to get closer to them. You're going to know what they're doing. If you have to go work, say you want a $2,000 bow and then you want to fucking deck it out with all the fucking highest, it takes you, I'm going to be working for a month before I can afford that. Plus, I got to pay all the other shit that I got to, you know, my mortgage and all this other stuff while I'm doing all that. And I got to pay for gas and car insurance and a car and all this other shit that it takes for me to be able to go do this thing. And I just want to fucking get out to the woods to go do this. But I have to buy all this shit. Or I could not do any of that. Walk out to the fucking woods, learn how to build a bow. Now I'm out with the animals and spend that time out there doing that. Guess what?
Yeah, but
you're gonna fucking kill an animal.
You could want to be a sailor and tie a bunch of sticks together with cordage and go float on a raft. And you're like, I'm a sailor. But you could build a massive ship like Columbus used to cross the Atlantic to come here. That's where I think the difference becomes.
People want to help you when they see you chasing what you want. Yeah. And those things will come to you if people see that you are following what you want. And whether or not like you're actually going to be able to do that or not, like if you really like push yourself into that position, that's when things will happen for you in that way, in any way. Yeah. In any sense of whatever you're doing.
Like if you want to take the beach, burn the boats.
Yeah, I don't know about burning the boats. That's kind of a ooh. Are we talking about trying to float on the water? I don't want to drown. No, I just think that like,
but you guys both make good money though.
Yeah, and do you think we're stoked every day?
A little bit
driving into fucking work.
I'm working
stoked,
on my exit strategy.
It gives you a little provide of security, right? And you wouldn't be working on your exit strategy if there was no economic incentive for you to do it.
No, if you didn't, right now there isn't. I'm working on creating the economic plan.
That's what I mean. You have to, it's something we have to have in our lives.
This is what I want. Let me tell you what I want.
What's his name?
I want to have everything just stop right now. I wish I'd wake up and it was like, oh fuck, everything I have is it. And I just get to go out into the fucking woods with everybody else. And if everybody else can't fucking make it, I get to eat them.
Oh my God.
That went dark.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's just what I want. I just want that. I want like to not have to fucking go to be forced to try, and you only get so much time, and that time is fucking slipping away from us so fast. And every single day we go to work, we fucking waste hours and hours and hours of that time. Yeah. Whereas if I could get that back and use just a fucking stick bow, guess fucking what? Dude, imagine that. Imagine if you had 10 times the amount of time to go hunt.
That'd be nice.
But you had a fucking lesser object to hunt with. Yeah, I don't have a recurve bow or the newest recurve bow, but I have to fucking the ability to go out.
But I can spend weeks.
Yeah.
In the woods.
Guess what? Well, you'd probably need weeks extra to kill something with an adult.
But that's okay. It's not about the actual kill. It's about the expenditure of your life.
Yeah, until you're hungry.
I think you'll kill way more stuff just by being out there with an atlatl than you would out there for a week with a fucking dopest fucking rifle.
Yeah, fuck that. F-16, dude. A-10 Warthog, baby. Yeah. We're going hog hunting.
I don't know. It's easy to, like, again, like, it's funny because there are times where, like, you hear people who are fucking filthy rich who have everything and they're like, it's not about that. And it's like, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, right.
You know what? Yeah. Like, it's always the guy with the fucking badass.
The yacht.
With the badass truck who's like, well, you know, it's really not, you know.
This piece of shit.
Yeah. You know, and then they can be, like, cool and, like, realize that, like, oh, yeah, no,
it's security and freedom. Enough money can give you security, like as in peace of mind, that if the transmission on your truck goes out or if your roof has a leak, you can get it taken care of.
Yeah.
And so then it gives you freedom to not have to be in the grind, to do what you want.
Well, that's money that comes to you without having to fucking use your time to go get it.
Yeah.
And that money is not real.
Passive income is real.
Well, get it.
That's what I'm trying.
Everybody wants to try and get it.
I'm working on it.
100%.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't even say it's not passive. I'm not trying. Yes, I am trying for passive income for some of it, but I am trying to get to a place where I can do the things I give a shit about professionally.
Yes.
Well, isn't it?
You want to use your time for things
doing
you
things
enjoy.
That matter to me.
Yes, and then when you do that, you'll never work a day in your life.
Perfect.
But isn't it weird too talking about income? Like passive income is something that's never really existed as much now as it has in the past. Like so much of passive income now is through digital things. I mean, like YouTube, passive. OnlyFans, fucking passive.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
The Enlightened Neanderthals.
Extremely passive. No fucking income. Very passive. But like all these forms, like if you look at what is monetary or income in the past, it was always due to a real service or product that fit, like sweep my chimney
for like one guy. The guy at the top had relatively passive
yes,
income.
Yes,
if I create a fence company and now I get 15 people working for me,
yeah,
and then I take one of them like, hey, you're going to be the guy, and make him like do the work at the very top. So you're the guy going and getting jobs and doing the bids. You're the guy.
Yeah.
And I get to sit back and just kind of collect money.
You're the passive income.
That's
earner.
passive income for one guy, and it took.
Do you think though at that point now you've just moved on to bigger issues that you're still constantly tackling at work?
Yeah, you're gonna.
No, I'm saying
now you're dealing with accounting and bookkeeping and payroll.
You'll
and
have
taxes,
to deal with
the
things,
lawyers,
but you're not out there finding each and every job and crossing every T and dotting every I.
I think there's a certain level that you get to where your workload is less and your income is more, and you have more freedom. In almost any company, on the way up, but you don't know until you get to that level what that is. And sometimes you pass it and you're like, fuck, that was it back there. I should have done that. But the people down below you are going, fuck you. You get to do all, like, you never know. It's like the guy who makes more money and who's always like, I like that old beat up truck. And it's like, yeah, it's easy to say that when you got a nice new one.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of thing that like everybody's always chasing the fucking next thing. And that's where I'm saying, like, if you are just happy with contentment and like what you have, or you don't want anything, that's freedom.
What I kind of noticed is that you don't need much. Like when I had all that time off, I would go walking out in the woods a lot. And as long as I had a backpack with like a little boiler thing and some water and some instant coffee, it's like, this is a pretty good fucking afternoon.
It's not bad.
Didn't take, and a joint, didn't take much.
In a joint.
Staple.
Yeah.
It is weird what you said about that passive income, because it is like the ability to communicate and have instant communication has allowed people the ability to make more money instantaneously. Like to have that, like your ability to monitor and watch the stock market used to be through getting the paper and, here's where this one's sitting. Yeah. Oh, now let me call my stockbookie
These were
guy.
Decisions you made over the course of months.
Yeah.
And now it's like you're just entering day trades.
And
with a couple clicks.
As technology, like think about music. It used to be, you would become a band and you'd do your local scene. And then maybe if you're lucky, you'd get a record executive or someone come see you and we'll sign you with our label. The ability for people now to go from zero to hero due to having YouTube videos, producing everything themselves and making it, it creates that passive, like the ability to become richer has never been easier, I think, in certain
trajectory.
ways. Yeah.
No. The internet has created a shitload of opportunity.
The people who want to succeed can succeed.
But it's even more so to the common man just due to communication.
Yeah.
It's nothing more than the availability.
But I agree with you on the point that the opportunities are more than they've ever been. But I also think the system is more oppressive than it's ever been for the same reason, because
everyone, yes. Yeah, I think enough people have been in it. There's enough ability for people to get in it through around the world that it is saturated, though. Yep. And there's so many rules and regulations. It's harder. It's harder to invent an airplane now than it was in the 1800s. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Couple guys in Kitty Hawk just you
just glue that shit together. Start pedaling that bike.
Yeah. Orville Redenbacher.
Yep. And
inventor of the airplane.
You're gonna get fucked. Yeah. You try and do that today.
You try. That's right. You try to jump your bike off a 3-story roof. You're gonna need some permits, son.
For a good YouTube channel.
Good luck.
Oh shit.
I mean, that's just the way it is. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, we are getting oppressed in many ways with law and regulation, and
yeah,
that's that's why it comes down to really changing wording. We got to get around these fucking bullshit laws.
We got laws. We got to take a pee break because I'm about to pee my pants. All right. Come in, Mike.
Over Rice Patty Daddy here. Still the best call sign name.
Right. Well, Now what?
In closing, why have I been? And I went and did stickers. Parents got a new car, so I went and did some paint protection on it today. And I always like talking with my dad and my stepmom. They're interesting cats. But I talked a lot about this kind of stuff with them today while we were working. And I told them, I got my podcast, which has, an impeccable 7 or 8 listeners. And they're really devoted fans. And I think a lot about this content. That
a couple tattoos are out there.
Do you think anyone's gotten Enlightened Neanderthals tattoos?
Of course.
Yeah. They're all sitting at this table. But we're kind of talking about all this stuff. And she's like, well, why are you focusing so much on this Great Depression? And my only answer is I don't really know what's going on, but throughout the world, I see so much aligning of things happening.
But by God, we're going to figure it out.
Right here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. But there's a lot of aligning happening. And I started kind of talking about this Great Depression because of tariffs and the market reaction that's been happening within the last couple weeks. But in seeing that happen, it's also like, well, what's a greater idea with the tariffs? And in my head, it's a little bit of, well, United States was a powerhouse post World War II. And when World War II happened, you kind of got a unification of the world or a global trade market. And so many of the things that were produced or made here were started to be farmed out for a cheaper, for more profit. And when that happened, we lost a lot of independence, right? And we saw that during COVID. We all know that we had supply chain breakdowns. But if you look at a lot of the things that are happening and lines being drawn right now, it doesn't seem to be done for money. It seems to be done for nation building and stability, right? Yes. There seems to be a lot of the rhetoric for every country almost seems to be self-reliant and self-sufficient.
Oh, from the people.
From the people and even a little bit from the countries. America is leading that charge, I think, a little bit. Europe is still the European.
Are we about to implement Real ID? I don't think we're leading the charge at all.
What are the tariffs is to bring manufacturing and to make consumer.
The tariffs didn't even go into effect. They're on a 90-day hold.
They're on a pause, but the idea.
We'll see if they ever actually happen.
They might never. But the idea with a tariff is to bring manufacturing back here, yes, or to give it a chance, so people that make it far cheaper, having the tariffs evens out the playing field. So the guys that do make things expensive in the United States, the price starts to equal what the cheaper goods with a tariff from somewhere else are.
I think we'll take it to first grade. You ever kind of jump at somebody and watch them flinch a little bit?
Yeah. That's a little bit of what Trump was doing.
He's doing that
tariff
too.
Just made a lot of countries fucking flinch. And America was like, "That's right, bitch."
Yeah.
Remember.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit of that going on.
But I see a lot of United States wanting minerals instead of money from Ukraine. Money's nice, but minerals are more sufficient for creating capacitors, military weapons, all kinds of goods like that, right? Having food stability, right? We shut off the border to Mexico and the South, right? Because we were getting invaded. But the United States still seems to be trying to do tariff deals with Canada and Mexico, especially Mexico and South America. I think China has been playing for a lot of respect in trying to get in with South America. They've already gotten into the Middle East. They've gotten into Africa, and they're moving back through parts of Asia like Vietnam and stuff. My biggest fear, and I bring all this up, is because I think a lot of the world is kind of thinking there might be another major world conflict. And what part of being self-reliant is when the next COVID, the next World War III, the next shit that hits the wall, that you have a little bit of supply. You have the
medications and microchips right here.
Yes. Or to make the weapons or the bullets to fight. I in my heart, and I hate to say this, but it is a giant fear that keeps growing with me, is that countries are trying to become great again, each country, because they know something big's coming down the pipe. And this ain't every country. It's like, what's Lithuania going to do? It's like fucking nothing. They're so goddamn small. But when you talk about big players like a China, like a Russia, like a United States, like a Germany, like, you know, that's where it starts to get me a little worried of how much each of these people are pulling for themselves. And what used to be a money global alignment, as this stuff kind of happens, I feel countries are not going to have, like we said, what is money? Well, it's a double means of exchange for double wants, right? It satisfies, you want that and I want this, but I don't want what you have. You don't want what I have. Let's use this middle thing. And I kind of see as this stuff starts to happen, countries won't align and money won't be as commonly exchanged, right? That inner middle thing. And I don't know. It's just something I can't stop shaking thinking about. And so thinking with the tariffs, thinking with recessions, thinking with Great Depressions, how we're having our own. I mean, the recession of 2008 was divisible by 6 of the Great Depression. It was 1/6 of it, you know, but it still had a little bit of an impact that lasted years to come. And it destabilized money into the Obama administration. And then it's like, well, let's keep maybe fighting these wars. We can keep making money through war profiteering and going into other countries. It's like, is this what the America has become, to keep profits, like to make profits and keep going? Because if you look at the Great Depression, what pulled us out of the Great Depression pretty much seems like World War fucking II, right? And if you look at the Civil War, what rebuilt the United States was carpetbaggers going through the South and rebuilding the South. We did the same thing in Germany or Europe in World War II. We went there to rebuild. Talking with the Ukraine-Russia event, a lot of American companies said, we're going to go into Ukraine and rebuild.
BlackRock actually has signed a multi-trillion-dollar contract to rebuild Ukraine. That happened like 4 months ago.
Yeah. So money and war are very closely connected, and
when you need it, guess what you do?
Go to war.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
The American way.
So it makes me wonder with these tariffs and like making nations good again. Is this really for like a better economy, or is this because you know there's trouble ahead and you want to give your country the best start, your citizens?
So sometimes I think it's with Trump, I think it's just sensationalism. Like he has to get up in front of the cameras and say something fucking wild because that's how he gets his attention.
Agreed.
I don't
know.
think he's like that.
No,
I don't think he's like that. I don't think he cares about it. I don't think he wants the attention. I think they just keep giving it to him.
I think they do give it to him. I think he does say outlandish stuff.
I disagree with that.
I think in certain ways he doesn't want it. Like he's just doing his thing and talking, and they run with
they just
stuff.
Keep giving it to me.
But he does say outlandish, crazy shit. Dude.
Yeah.
Oh fuck!
Great Depression.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. It was very depressed. Yeah.
I don't know that we could get to that level now.
Of like falling into chaos, you mean?
Well, did
like
they fall into chaos? How bad? I guess you hear about it and it's like, how bad really was it for the 25% of people who weren't working? Was it bad for everybody? Was it bad for the 25%?
Not only was it, those people were at the bottom of the bottom for not getting jobs. So that also pulled, like the Great Depression pulled down the world. Like it wasn't just the United States. It affected every market. And like I said, because of how extended we were from World War I, loaning money back to Europe.
And we're that much more intertwined with the world economy today.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's even more.
Yeah. Oh, 100-fold, billion-fold, maybe.
So if we go into this depression, everything falls apart, and the American way is to start a war, to fight it, to start making money again. You just think that would be what would happen?
I mean, the war's already provided. As the American state is failing, the Chinese state has been rising. And as one nation goes down and another nation rises, that's where conflict happens. What was Britain and what was the American colonies? As one was going down, one was coming up. And when they meet that cross-section, that's fight. Like, that's Spanish all throughout the Asia. That's British all throughout, everywhere.
Wait. I'm lost. But, well, never mind. Go ahead.
No, but I think as, when someone controls a world market and they start to go down and another country's coming up, there's always conflict. And what do you do during those times? You fortify your own positions. China's been nipping at our heels for a long time as a gross GDP producer of the world. They make everything we make plus steal all our technology. Yeah. Right? So we're kind of in this weird race where, that was like the fault. Soviet Union and United States post World War II. Like, they had the nuke, we had the nuke, we all have the stuff, and it's like, well, we're going to figure out a way to trade and have better relations. And they're like, well, we're going to Iron Curtain the world. So it didn't work out well for them. They were still a contender, and they've helped prop up Korea War, Vietnam, China, into China what it is today.
I think us and the Soviet Union were very similar in that we were both attempting to be the one and only empire.
Mm-hmm. The state of Russia before the Soviet Union was kind of that empire. They even they tried to the Mongols even went into Russia, right? And the Russians beat them back. Like, that's how insane the Russian hierarchy is, of the oligarchy that was the state of Russia of the past. I don't know. I think there's so much fighting for, you look at what World War II was, or World War I, and it's like, it was all of these individualized countries with tons of ideology and respect towards our heritage. But as that started to dissolve and they're like, oh, this is the state of these alliance of countries. These are the state of these alliance. This is the North Atlantic trade.
I wonder if there was a larger goal after World War I to completely redraw border lines of Europe, if that's what the true aim of it was.
Yeah.
Because that was Europe post-feudalism.
Yeah.
Sort of finding its place, and now we're living in it post-NATO.
Yeah, well, that's what do you think was imposing the Treaty of Versailles, was saying we're this collective of higher groups that fought against you, and we're going to tell you what living is. Right. This is how you conduct yourself in this trade manner of the world. Yeah. And Germany said, fuck you guys, you're giving us the raw end of the deal.
Yeah, yeah. But that's still kind of what the UN is going down to Africa and into third world Asia. And just sort of forcing people into slave labor, basically.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel somehow through all this stuff, in my head, the drums of war are still beating in the background through this. That's what's pushing a lot of this stuff.
Isn't Trump kind of pushing for a fight with Iran?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. We're back to Israel.
Fuck those pussies.
Oh, shit.
Well, what does that mean? What does that mean for us sitting here at this table? What is it?
I'm too old for the draft, so I'm good.
I think it just means what it's meant for everyone. Every person that's throughout history, there's been friends or families or groups sitting around tables sharing drinks or meals talking about what do you think's going to happen? The rumors, the echoes around the hall of what is the future. And I think, unfortunately, for so many of the masses, it's honestly determined by a small group of people. That's what you elect as power and who really make the decisions. So what does it mean? We're kind of in the ride that most of humans through civilization or life have gone through is, I guess I'll see. Yeah. And I'll navigate this as it happens.
Kind of oh, well, fuck it.
But never has the ability been for one person with so little impact had the ability to say so much.
Yeah.
Like I have no involvement with anything, but I have an opinion on everything. And that's kind of a weird, interesting thing where it's like you still have limited leadership, but you have a lot of experts or leaders talking and saying the things, a lot of armchair experts or armchair quarterbacks. Yeah. It is an interesting point where a lot of people know about it, but they're not involved with it.
I think more and more we're finding out too that all these public figures and social media kind of superstars, they're not authentic.
No.
And more and more of them seem to sort of fall by the wayside, and you find out that this person's an asshole or et cetera, et cetera. Whatever they espouse to be on camera, they were not.
No.
No. Yeah. Authenticity may be, as we enter into a world of AI and deep fake videos, authenticity may become the true currency.
Yeah. I think Kid Rock said it best. He's like, if it sounds good, you'll hear it. If it feels right, you'll feel it. But if it's authentic, you'll know it, you know? And it's just like, there's something about truth being spoken that makes the hair stand up on your neck, or like it resonates with you. There is still something like, don't get me wrong, you can be a charlatan and sway people, but sometimes true things do just really ring out though. And you're kind of like, I like that. That makes sense.
I agree. And Kid Rock also said, "Ba with the ba, da bang da dang, diddy diddy." Boogie said a up jump.
Up the boogie.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.